This conference will now be recorded.
We'll call the meeting to order. Back it up a little bit. All right, approval of minutes for May 25th, regular meeting, and the June 3rd special meeting.
Motion to approve minutes from the May 25th regular meeting and the June 3rd special meeting of the City Council.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, could you
Yes.
call the sign-in sheet to review, please?
Is there any sign-in sheets?
The sign-in sheet.
I don't have any currently.
All right.
Are you filling out some, comment sheet?
Yes.
Krebs' water line.
For us to give the extension, ask him to clarify.
Can you clarify what you need here, Brian? What do you, I mean, what's the discussion here?
The two Krebs matters.
For the water line, he doesn't need to speak. And for the assessment, he can speak to the city attorney.
Yeah, you need to, it went to that point for you can deal with our city attorney on this now that she's got counsel, so. If Pat would like to speak on her behalf, that's fine, but if you're gonna speak, you need to speak to our city attorney after the last meeting, so.
Yeah, the city attorney and I gave phone messages and emails and never reached each other. Now I see the same things on the agenda, so I thought we're going to take action on tonight. I'll press it for that.
Well, you should have taken care of that with our city attorney. If Pat would like to speak on her behalf, that's fine. All right, moving on, old business.
Just to review, is there any other, there are over 26 items on this agenda and nobody has signed up to speak about anything.
Are they all on? I haven't set my report, so
So just to review, the policy is such that testing. Just to review, the policy is such that if you want to speak on a particular item on the agenda, you would have to sign up. If you wanted to have the mayor consider adding something to the agenda, you would have submitted that last week. We don't have anything, correct, Emma?
I just want to see up.
Okay. And when we get that and move on, then it's settled.
Emma said that maybe there would be questions on.
What questions?
Questions about the change.
During the discussion, we'll ask.
I'm in council meeting. Well, I don't know, we just started.
All right, no other old business.
We're waiting for them to finish signing off to speak.
Yeah, when you get to that, then you get up and speak back. All right. Okay, we'll move on to new business, library discussion.
I don't know what you want me to do.
Yep.
Well, we are here to not just talk about the layout of the new library, but the exciting part, the colors, and all of the wonderful interiors and the things that are going to welcome all the people into the new space. First off, if you look, our color inspiration comes from the beautiful city parks, trails, and meandering river that goes through our city. And so we're keeping our walls light and bright with pops and accents of colors that are over there on the wall over there. And then keep in mind that we're going to reuse some of our tables and chairs that were gently refurbished by our local carpenter, Dennis Allen. So that's a really nice thing that we get to reuse and repurpose because we refinished all those just a couple of years ago. And so we got light woods, just like this, with all the legs refinished, and that will bring some warmth into the space. And now I'm going to show you some fabrics that will help you see some of the other things that we're going to be using. You'll see there are 3 chairs that are there. So we've got these big comfortable chairs that are kind of at the bottom of the screen, and this is the fabric, so you can pass that around. It's going to be on that chair. And then we're also bringing in the greens on the lower profile chair. You got to test these out, try them out. They're going to be super comfortable, very user-friendly, and clean-upable. So that's a positive thing, definitely positive. We're going to have some low-profile tables that will go with it. It'll have that same wood tone on the top, and I don't know if there's a picture of the tables yet, so I'll pass that around. And the tops are going to be the light wood tone to bring in some more texture to the space. And then the exciting part, the kids area, as well as some of the other chairs, like for the computer area, we're going to use leather and white waffle fabrics. And so I'm going to pass this around for the 3 different colors that we're going to be using. And we're going to be using some modular furniture that can be used in both the teen area as well as the children's area. So, and then another thing that I'm really not by the speaker here, but another thing is the I'll show you the flooring. This is the carpet that will be used in the entryway, and so it will all be carpet square. So if there's some damage, we can lift that up and clean it up. And that will be in the entryway, so both areas. This is the main carpet that's going to be used throughout most of the space, with accents of this carpet in the 4 main areas, the main circulation area, the children's area, and the teen area. And so that's where the color comes in. And then we're going to use a hard surface for the back area of the new library, where we have a multi-purpose meeting room, all of that. So if we spill anything, you can wipe it all up, because we deal with kids and adults, and we spill things. Yeah, kind of exciting. Also to think about, you can look at, if you can scroll up a little bit. This is what they did is they did a rendering of what the children's area would look like. And you'll notice there is a mural in the back. And right now I'm working with a local artist group to create a mural that will be specifically geared toward our community. In fact, I was brainstorming with her a little bit yesterday. So we'll have a few different people that will work on this whole project, which is kind of exciting, that we'll have something that will just be special for us. And then next, we'll too many envelopes. The circulation circulation desk, we're reusing the same light wood tone. And you can see, and what they did is we did 2 mock-ups of this because they said, let's try and use a logo. And I'm like, I don't really think that looks too professional. And so I came up with this idea of using and taking metal, and what we'll do is have a metal overlay on top of this darker tone, and then mix the 2 woods, so you can see that wood. And so this is what the main circulation desk will look like. It will really pop to have the metal inlay. So, any questions about all the samples that I've given you?
The metal, is that gonna be stainless?
Stainless steel? I would think so. I'm not really, I think so. That's what we talked about. It's kind of a stainless steel type thing. We'll have to finish it so that the patina will stay. Or the inlay there.
Yeah, it's on the inlays, because stainless will stay all the time. You put metal there, and if it's painted or even powder coated, it, after a while, it's gonna get chipped or whatever.
Thank you. Sure. It's something we will think about and make sure that we work on. So now you've seen all how beautiful this new space will be. Now you get to make the really tough decisions on everything else. And we've done what we can. It's been a joy to work with MSNR. And their designer and architects have been a super great help. They listen to what we need, and they come through for us. So I'm excited to keep moving forward on this project. But if you have any questions or anything that comes with me, or you can holler, I'm open door. Sure.
This is still the layout though that we have here, right?
Yes. That is the layout. That's the most up-to-date layout, because we've made a few changes here and there. We had to tweak a few things because of a couple of issues, but that is the latest layout.
Okay.
And everything. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, moving on, we'll move on to library bidding process update.
The library bidding, it was put in the Star Tribune for 3 weeks, cost the city $11,700. It was also published online as part of the package publishing. We've used this method before. We published for the broadband project on there, and we published here pursuant to recommendations of the architect. Unfortunately, there was no bidders that showed up for the walkthrough or for the final bid. So the competitive bidding process is done. And at that point, my office pivoted to reach out to contractors directly. Of the contractors that we reached out to, only Hoffman and Bullhorn, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, responded. And this particular firm has over 20 years of experience, fully licensed. And if you look through your packets that you have in front of you, you will see the municipalities that they have helped. And you will see that these types of projects are the projects that they perform. This one looks like this. There you go. So you'll see that the base price came in $36,000 under the estimated price. So we had expected $1,315,36 for the total project cost. The base proposal is $1,352,536 was the estimated total project cost. And the base came in at $1,315,36. Right, pass this to you. And for you. You can pass these down then. There are 10 ad alternates. These ad alternates are for parking lot, exterior stairs and ramps to provide brick infill at the existing exterior locations, to provide millwork, sink and refrigerator, to provide millwork, sink in the meeting room, to provide a wall tie in the restroom, to replace the storefront at the southeast entrance, to place an RTU at grade in lieu of a top of roof, to provide floor drains and associated plumbing in restroom 110 and 111, and finally, to have accessible entrances in the southeast door. So the total project cost with the 10 add-ons is $1,797,409. So that is a total cost over, if we do every single add-on, of $238,171. If you do every single add-on. Now, there are some areas in which using different subcontractors, that price can be brought down. So at that point, I can turn it over to Andy Hoffman. Is he connected? Andy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Just a moment. We can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now? But now. Hang on, Nathan. I'm on right now.
Did you get it to work?
No, I can't get the microphone. So Willie, can you hear me now?
Huh? Andy, could you X out and try to log back in?
Yeah, and yeah, I'll call too.
Do you have a number you can call? You can call in as well. Technical difficulties. So the overall total project cost until we get Andy on is 33% higher than it was priced out to be. We were expecting some of this because of the supply chain issues that are existing, but I was really caught off guard by not receiving a single bid. And communicating with contractors directly, a lot of contractors just couldn't get their margins to fit to produce a bid in the amount of time. At this point, delaying further and reissuing a new competitive process might cost us more money. Certainly at least $11,700 to repost it, probably in a trade journal this time.
So, Willie, can you hear me now?
Okay, Andy, is that you?
Yeah, this is me. Sorry about that. It seems like there's always something with online meetings, but so sorry, I might have missed out on a little bit of the conversation there as I was switching to my phone, but.
The difference will now be recorded.
So I apologize, Willie. I might have missed out on a little bit of the conversation there. I can go through, I guess, our bid. You know, we went out and we solicited bids, pulled it all together in about a week. We got a limited number of bids, and we do feel that we can get more bids to try and bring this price down. So I guess what you're looking at with the base bid of $1,315,036, that is, we're looking at the guaranteed maximum price as opposed to the guaranteed.
I'll go through what connected here as well. You'll see.
I would assume the reason we didn't get any bids is, I mean, out in our area, there's not a lot of people doing public libraries in that situation. If you're not in the metropolitan area, I'm sure logistics is part of the problem. I mean, a project this size, I mean, a lot of those bigger companies that do them are not going to travel here from the cities or, logistical would be the main thing. I mean, if they've got enough work down there.
That and probably fuel costs and everything else too, might keep people closer to home.
A lot of what I was getting feedback is they're just so busy already with projects. And our project, while it is a robust project, hard to compete with other projects. So, any luck with?
Yeah, can you hear me right now?
Andy, unfortunately, it's on your side.
Oh, no.
Is that him or not?
That's radio.
Oh.
So there are a number of areas where the contractor put asterisk. Let's go through those areas. There's a second packet just dealing with the cost. He identified areas where subcontractors are places where they may be able to switch out a subcontractor. We are using a standard form AIA contract, and it does have a provision for how you substitute out a subcontractor or an equipment or a design as approved by the project oversight. In this case, it would be the architect, MSR. You'll see that for every one of the items that is add alternate that required a subcontractor, they were kind enough to go ahead and include that so you can see the process of how they arrived at their figures.
Willie, can you hear me right now?
Okay, and there are some areas, for example, with concrete and other materials that he would be able to possibly rebid locally, try to get another subcontractor, which could bring the price down significantly. Andy, not if that's making sense what I'm saying. Sorry, technical difficulty. Is council satisfied with why we, as a city, approach contractors directly after the bids were out for competitive process? Is there anything about that? The process comes back, be online for several weeks and published in the biggest newspaper in the state.
It would have been nice to have another person bidding it, but I don't know.
This is a call from
It's a lack of workforce and lack of.
Press pound or hang up to end the call. This conference will now be recorded.
Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Can you hear me now, Willie?
So we accept the bid. There's a motion suggested before city council where city council would
the proposal by the architect on our behalf. So assuming all goes forward, then you would be right on track to start work.
project as soon as all the subcontractors are finally lined up.
So they're gonna.
Willie, can you hear me? Because I just called into a
Try
line.
to seek a better price, I mean, from the subcontractors on our behalf, I mean, that's the intent.
Hang in there, guys. We're trying to figure this out.
Can you hear me now, Willie?
I can hear you, correct.
You can hear me, okay. Excellent.
Andy, I did my best to talk construction talk here. So, if you want to guide us through it from the beginning.
Certainly, yeah, I'm sure you said some of what I would say. So we went out, we solicited subcontractor bids. I did hear a little bit of the comments about maybe some difficulty in getting people to come to Appleton. We did have some subcontractors who didn't bid or backed out of bidding to us because they were worried about the drive and because they just have a lot of work. So we worked through that. We got, for most areas, all significant areas, we did get a subcontractor bid. There were a few minor things. Concrete is one that stands out. There's not a lot of concrete work. So we included an allowance in our bid, essentially. Roofing too, there's a very small bit of work there, just associated with the rooftop unit. So we put in a couple of numbers, what we would call plug numbers, that are not firm numbers from subcontractors, but that we're comfortable with, and we're sure that we can meet or exceed and hopefully return some savings to the city on those specific line items. There is still some work to be done. There are some areas where we got one bid. We think we can do better. We'd like to go out to some locals, find some people that are not in the metro, not in Sioux Falls, that we think can probably do the work better and or cheaper and or be more responsive to us if there's punch list items, warranty, things like that. So we've got a little bit of work. I think we can find some more savings to be found. But yeah, as it sits as of this afternoon, the last of the bids that I got, that's what brings us to that base number of 1.315 million. Are there any questions with how we arrived at the number? Questions about subcontractors process going forward?
So just for the audience here and also at home who may be following, you guys are going to be expected to provide the same level of insurance coverage, same bonds, performance payment bonds for subcontractors. That is something you can do, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, bonding this would not be a problem for us. It's well within our threshold. Insurance-wise, we meet or exceed all state statutory minimums. In some cases, we are millions above that as far as our insurance coverages. So there's no issue with that contractually. Correct.
Does the city council have any questions? You'll see that they provided a list for the contract descriptions for the subcontractors. They listed it 0240 through 00. This is their overhead costs, including subcontractors for the base bid of $1,315,036. Again, that is about $36,000 below the estimated total cost, but the total cost is $1,797,409,000. But that's for every single one of the CATA alternates.
Do we have time to go through all these alternates? Because
yes,
just by the short descriptions, I'm really not sure what these alternates are. And maybe like more description on the alternates.
Yeah,
we
I
can
can
go
talk
through
through
it.
them.
Just, I just want everybody to know this is specification 787 pages, but we certainly can go through. Andy, I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah. So alternate number one, this is the new parking lot that goes, there used to be, I believe, a wood structure, some buried rubble there. But the new parking lot, I believe there's a playground there right now next to the boiler building. So it'd be the new parking lot, the concrete drive to pull into it, the lighting, there's a few light poles, and I think there's some lights attached to the wall. And then a little bit of sidewalk work there. So removing some curb and gutter. The biggest thing here is really the parking lot, the pavement, everything that goes into that. That's alternate number one. Alternate number two is at the north entrance, where right now there's a canopy and some stairs that go down. Alternate number two would do some pretty significant revamping to that. So it would add ADA accessibility. There's a switchback ramp that would go up to a platform to enter the building, so people with disabilities could access it easily. There's new storefronts, so new aluminum doors, new hardware, everything that goes along with that. That's the biggest alternate. Alternate number three.
I'm going to stop you right there because I have a question on that.
Yeah.
And that is, if we don't do the full alternate and the ramp and stairs and all that, is there anything we do with that entrance, even if we don't do the full blown handicap accessible, wheelchair accessible? Or will it be left exactly the way it is right now?
I believe it would be left primarily the way that it is right now. There is some work with repainting, I believe, the parapet, so up along the roof line, because I think there's some chipping paint and things like that. We've got not a lot, but there's some money in the one of the contracts. We're doing some cleaning and adjusting of the aluminum doors and the hardware. We're a little bit limited in what we can do to it, but we can clean it up a little bit, make sure that it's opening, closing, not getting caught up on things, and do some adjustments there if we need to. That is the bulk of it, though. I mean, it would largely be what you have right now at that entrance, which my understanding, the southeast entrance is the main entrance that's more at grade. on the opposite end of the school wing. But yeah, without the alternate, it would be primarily left as is.
Oh, thanks.
Yep, no problem. Unless there's any other questions, I can move on to alternate number 3, which is the smallest, almost the smallest. There are 13 locations where there's existing louvers on the outside of the building. Most of these are very small. 12 of them, I think, are very small. This alternate would remove those louvers and fill it in with brick. So there'd be block where there's an opening on the inside of the wall, essentially, that would be filled in with block. And then the outside, the louvers would be removed and infilled with face brick. We'll do our best to make sure we get something that is as close a match as possible so that it doesn't look like patchwork. But that is what that alternate is. Without it, the louvers stay. They don't really serve a function, but they're there, and it's not, to my knowledge, at least causing any issues with the building. So your call on that one. Any questions on alternate 3? All right, I'll speak to alternate number 4. 4 and 5 are very similar, just in different rooms. So the drawings show millwork, essentially casework with a sink in it, small refrigerator in the stacked workroom. To get plumbing to the sink, there's also a new wall that would be built behind it just to serve as a chase, essentially. The cost for number 4 is $12,343. And then a little bit bigger, alternate number 5 does the same thing, but in the meeting room. So it provides millwork with a wall behind it to serve as a chase to get the plumbing to the sink. And I don't believe that one's got a refrigerator. But it's a 2-compartment sink, so it's a little bit bigger. There's more casework that goes along with that. The workroom is just a small amount. This is a little bit longer space. That is alternate number 5. Alternate number 6, this one's very straightforward. The base bid has floor tile, new tile in the bathrooms, but on the wet walls. So wherever there's plumbing, whatever could be exposed, if you've got a sink on a wall, that's a wet wall, or if there's a toilet on a wall, that's a wet wall. Alternate number 6 would provide tile on the walls as opposed to like an epoxy paint that's more of a water resistant paint, but it's not to the grade of tile. Alternate number 7, replacement of the storefront at the southeast entrance. So this is the entrance where you walk in at grade, right next to where the gymnasium is in the building. Alternate number 7 would replace the aluminum doors and glass. And this one I also believe has brand new hardware that would go along with it. Actually, I take that back. The hardware is included in the base bid, but we've got some question as to whether we can retrofit the existing doors to accept that hardware. But in alternate number 7, it would be all new storefront at the southeast entrance. And then number 10, which we'll get to in a minute, also is related to the southeast entrance. But alternate number 8 would put the mechanical unit at grade. So it would be on the ground on what is currently the playground side of the building, as opposed to putting on the roof. I suspect this was probably included just for ease of maintenance. You don't have to climb up onto the roof to change filters or do your annual service to your mechanical unit. It's a noteworthy cost. Personally, if it was my money, I'd probably put it up on the roof, but $56,144 to move the mechanical unit to the ground as opposed to up on the roof. Alternate number 9, this one's also very straightforward, would just be to add floor drains in the 2 restrooms. Really not much more to it, just 2 floor drains. And last but not least, alternate number 10. So the grades and whatnot are a little bit rougher, and I think there's been some sidewalk heaving and whatnot at the southeast entrance. So alternate number 10 would make that a more accessible entrance. So it's site work. It's removing existing sidewalk, replacing it. I believe we'd be taking out some sections of curb, replacing that with something that you don't have to go up. If you're in a wheelchair, as you can imagine, going up a curb can be quite a challenge. So there's a truncated dome, that essentially a ramp that would bring you up to the sidewalk so that you can get into the building a lot more easily. And those are, at a high level at least, those are the 10 alternates.
If we did not do alternate number 2, would we have to do then number 10 to make it accessible?
I would have to talk to the architect. I'm speculating that what you have right now may technically be ADA compliant. I think it would be, again, speculating. I think it would be a challenge to get from the street onto the sidewalk without going all the way down to the corner. But as far as getting into the building, I believe it's still doable for someone with a disability. I'm also partially speculating this because the building would have to be ADA compliant if we do a renovation. And I don't think that MSR would break something out as an alternate if it was really going to be a required part of the scope. But I would have to check with the architect on that.
Is there a way when we do that, that north door, I mean, if we didn't do the whole ramp in that instance, could we cosmetically redo the covering on the step and then make it so down the road, it could be attached to a ramp? I mean, so it's, you know, to cosmetically fix up the north end, but then in the future, it has the ability and the, you know, the concrete footings and stuff are such that you can tie in and add the ramp at a later date?
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
We could do just about anything there. You know, one thing we don't want to do is make it more difficult to add the ramp or do something down the road, which I don't think the base bid does necessarily. The existing steps, when you get up to the top of them, they've settled. I mean, they've been there a long time. I want to say it's close to about 2 inches that you go from basically the landing into the building. I know once upon a time, because we've talked to MSR about this project for quite some time, they had asked some questions about, can we put a topping on there to try and save that stoop? Do we have to remove it? Is it pure, you know, is it solid concrete? Hopefully there's some sand underneath there to make it easier to remove. You know, we could leave it exactly as is and do some things to touch up maybe the canopy, because that canopy looks a little rough and rugged. That would be an option. A lesser option would be to just replace the glass doors and the aluminum frames. You know, those are expensive, but they're not $168,000 expensive. You could do that right now and it would be there. You've already made that investment, so you don't have to do it again when you come back to do the ramp at a later date.
From budget perspective, if you choose not to do alternate number 1, which is the parking lot, then the project total cost is $1,659,909, which with what we have in the bond would give us a difference of $100,671, which we can cover from the recreation fund that we have. So the project would be completely paid if you don't move forward with alternate number 1. This way you wouldn't have the questions about ADA compliance at all.
But wasn't going back from memory, the item number 2 there, that was removed off the architect's stuff to start when we ended that.
It wasn't removed. It was placed as an add alternate. That's why it's not part of the base bid. This is an add alternate.
So it's not in the base bid of the 301 million.
Yeah.
You know, it's in this alternate. So none of this stuff is actually in the original bid. That was all taken out like we wanted it to.
Okay. So
everything in the gray box below is all 315,000.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, those are all add alternates over above and beyond base bid.
Well, you know, we're looking at fixing Rooney. Maybe not this year, but next year, and somebody's in here putting in asphalt to have them come in and put a asphalt to parking lot at that time. I'm sure that it would be a lot more reasonable.
Yeah, that could be the case. And asphalt is an oil product, so it fluctuates with the price of, just like gas. If the price of oil goes down or up, the cost of asphalt goes down or up. If you've got another project in town that somebody's coming to do, you save a mobilization charge if somebody does come to the same time. So there could be some savings down the road. I mean, it could go up as well. So it's.
So at this time, if we would drop line item 1 and 2, I mean, the project can move forward in a timely fashion. That shouldn't affect any of your construction at this time, correct?
Yeah, I think so. The areas that we had the most concern with as far as schedule are like aluminum doors, for example. I mean, all doors have quite a lead time, but aluminum doors do especially. Most of the lead times are associated with those first two alternates, handrails and things like that with the ramp. Our hope, and we still have a little bit of work to do to vet this schedule, is that we'd be able to begin in September, and it would take us approximately 6 months to complete. And we've got a little bit of back and forth with some of the subcontractors to make sure we can get materials in time. But fortunately, there are fewer long lead materials on this project than there are in a lot of others. So we're optimistic.
I was just hoping that if we drop line item 1 and 2, and even if we decided to just replace the doors in that entryway, if we can save enough money by local contractors, we could probably offset that, at least get the doors and stuff at the north entrance.
Yeah.
I guess I agree with that, but what is the importance of number 8? Place RTU at grade in lieu of top of roof.
I'd speculate that it's a maintenance call. There isn't any real, an extension ladder, which isn't the end of the world, but there isn't a roof hatch or anything like that that I'm aware of to get up onto the roof to service a mechanical unit up there. So it may be an access thing, just to keep it on the ground for easier maintenance. That's my speculation. I don't know if there's another reason driving that alternate.
That'd probably one for the architect, because we're moving them walls and stuff on the interior and opening that up. It could be a weight issue too on the inside.
Yeah, that's why it's a $56,000 ladder alternate, even though we're not really changing anything as far as the function, because we do have to open up walls, take out and replace brick. There's some pretty heavy duty insulation, as you can imagine, on the ductwork, so you don't lose your heating and your cooling as the air is coming in and out of the building. And two, I think if you were to table that, I don't think that number specifically is going to change dramatically over the course of the next couple of weeks or months. If you wanted to think about that one, I think that's something we could probably talk to our subs and make sure they'll hold numbers on it, but you could potentially revisit that in the near future. I don't mean 6 months from now, obviously, but.
Thank you. Questions?
Andy, thank you very much. And thank you, Joseph.
All right. Thank you.
So where you're at now?
Where you're at now as a council is which of these add alternates do you really feel close to, and which of them do you think you do without? The one that makes a lot of sense is probably not to do add alternate number 1 at this time, because it's not integral to the function and aesthetic of the project. And it's something we can do a little easier down the road, as you guys have all described.
All right, anybody have any other thoughts on that, or should we make a motion? That's what we do it, right?
I make a motion to award library project to Hoffman and, pardon my, Uniform Construction pending final confirmation from the city architects MSR, and that the proposal meets all design specifications for the project in the amount of
So this is where you guys got to tell me which add alternate you want and don't want.
well, we can do the parking lot later.
Okay, so
What about striking 1 and 2?
Yeah.
My opinion is 1, 2, and 8, and maybe we have to come back to 8. How's the rest? Is that acceptable
I'd say
to the rest?
Table the first 2 and make the alternate. I mean, the heating one, that's got to be a decision. I mean, if it's going to be cost effective at this time, I mean, do it. If not,
I agree. I have a feeling we're gonna maybe have I might have a different opinion on that once we get some real background on number 8, but
$1,491,768.
768.
Yep. 1,491,768.
In the amount of $1,479,768.
$1,491,768.
I'll
How
second.
much is that? How much is that over I mean, what we were originally at? So you take 36,000 off of that. So you'd be basically,
We should be right on the money.
You subtract.
That was for $1,491,768.
I second.
Dan and secretary.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any more discussion? And what did we bond for?
1,599. The net proceeds of that was 1,559,238. $1,559,238,000. And we have available in our rec fund $132,000.
The motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to the Director of Public Works monthly report.
Andy Joseph, my office will be in touch with you after I meet with MSR, and then we'll have a discussion about contracting, okay?
Excellent. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody doesn't know this is Ryan Gallagher, who's our new Public Works Director.
Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to come up here and present to you. Starting off, the city crew has worked diligently to get the pool open for the season. We passed inspection, opened the pool for swimming lessons that started on June 13th. Currently on pace to open to the public tomorrow, June 16th. In addition to all our rounds and routines for normal operations, we are still progressively working to remove and trim trees that are problematic, including recent storm damage. The tree at Flags of Honor, I've provided a picture for that specific tree. The request. The request for the removal of the tree came from AMVETS due to the condition of the tree. I currently have one quote and am seeking a second quote for the removal of the tree. Moving on to the tree at Snelling and Golfy, I've provided another picture. I do not want to remove this tree as it is a healthy tree and in good condition. The issue is the sidewalk that passes by the tree and is in disrepair. I would like to direct the sidewalk around the tree, basically just replace the sidewalk that is in disrepair, save the tree, and just reroute the sidewalk around the tree. Currently, I'm in the process of developing an annual tree trimming schedule to help reduce deadfall and to maintain healthy trees in the community. This is definitely a work in progress and something that I'm working on to adapt. Moving on to the corner of East Tilkey and North Beale Street, I've also provided a picture. I'm currently addressing the street and walking path repair from a previous water main break and corresponding stormwater runoff for that area. The temporary fix on the corner now does not disrupt the flow of traffic. The job is currently out for an engineering plan from Apex.
Can I just make a comment on that one? I talked to the gentleman that lives in the old garden house there. With all that water tends to run down his driveway.
Yep.
We tried to pour cement in there to slow it down, but somewhat, is that going to be addressed to possibly try to get that routed away from his driveway?
That will be part of the process with Apex, is that corresponding water from Beal. There's no storm drain to take that water. So that is something that is part of that engineering plan. Onto the concrete reclamation site at the dump grounds. In order to clean up the site, April of 2021, the city received a quote from Flat Rate for concrete crushing. I am currently revisiting this quote with them and acquiring several other quotes from other companies and exploring other options with what to do with that material that's crushed, and to see, how the city can use that for our alleys. And then also just what we can do with that concrete as it's crushed. In the coming months or month, I'm going to be addressing the potholes throughout the city with the city crews to improve our roads. Just don't like hitting the potholes, so we can get those filled in as we try and repair all those permanently. So just addressing the initial potholes that we have throughout the city. Last but not least, the new water treatment plant. We are on a daily basis fine tuning the functions of the new plant. The plant is certainly more efficient and reliable. It is able to treat and produce more water. And with that being said, sediments that are in the water mains from the old plant are being disrupted. And in time, the colored water will be eliminated with fine tuning of the plant and continued fire hydrant flushing throughout the system. With that, now I'd like to call up Mr. Knudsen from Apex for a brief summary of the water treatment plant.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff. Yeah, I just wanted to be here this evening to answer any specific questions that anybody has regarding the water treatment plant. I think Ryan did a great job summarizing where we're at with right now with the process. Things seem to be going really well. So does anybody have any specific questions on the plant?
They want to know why the water is not clear.
Okay, very good question. So as Ryan mentioned, we feel that the plant that we've got right now is a lot more efficient and doing a lot better job than the plant that was serving the city for over 50 years. So you've gotten your useful life out of that plant. So I think it was probably known by a number of folks that the old plant probably wasn't taking out the contaminants or iron and manganese and things like that it should have been taking out. So some of that stuff did get out into the system. The city has been flushing hydrants to try to address that issue. Right now, the water that's coming out of the new plant, Chris and I were up there before we came today, seems to be performing very well. So the water that's coming out of the new plant is clear. It's just going to take some time to get the other items out of the distribution system, and yeah, it'll just take some time for the system to clear itself out. So
in your engineering, I mean, you're in the business, but like at my house, I've not had a lot of dirty water.
Okay.
I think it's just possibly because I'm maybe on a main line. I mean, or dead end lines, are those people going to have more sediment than certain ones?
Very good point. Typically they do. And yeah, we do see in various distribution systems that certain areas are worse than others for whatever reason. It's just the way the water circulates within your system. But if you are on a dead end line, typically those areas do see more sediment or dirty water. Yep. Very good point.
Notwithstanding the look of the water, we get the water analyzed monthly, and the analysis say that it's potable. But I want you to answer those questions for the community. Is this water safe to drink?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's safe to drink. Chris and I were up there before we came here tonight, did some testing. Like I said, the water quality coming out of your plant right now is very good. It's just going to take some time for the system to clear itself out.
You've seen this in other projects, correct?
We have. Yep. Yep.
People that own Apple Lake and stuff, they have the same issues.
Yep, and even with the flight, hydrant flushing and things like that, a lot of times, once that takes place, that agitates the system. It just takes some time for the system to clear itself out. So, yeah.
Any idea on what kind of a time frame that might be?
Boy, that's hard to answer. My answer is hopefully sooner rather than later, but it could take some time. Yeah, I can't answer that exactly what exact time frame it's going to be. So, yeah.
At a meeting, Councilmember Enke, with the mayor, my office, on staff, and Apex, we discussed that the new water treatment plant is more than likely to be operational by the second week of August fully by itself.
It's just going to take some time to get everything fine tuned. We're working on that right now. We're very happy with where we're at right now, but we think we're going to continue to improve the efficiency of that plant as time goes on.
So nothing in what you're seeing with our incremental launch is atypical for what you've experienced with other projects.
No, nothing out of the ordinary that we can see right now. So yeah, we're very happy with where we're at.
Any other questions for Bob? Thanks a lot, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Gene, Forster?
Evening, Mayor, Council. Just a little progress report. I ran the statistics through May 1st through June 13th, since I wasn't we didn't do this the last month, but had a uptick in violators as far as no driver's license. Wrote 9 citations for that. There's quite a few people in town that don't have driver's license. We run into that quite a bit. Speed, only 1 citation for that. A lot of people are actually, not buying insurance. It's kind of a thing right now. A lot of people pull them over and they don't have their insurance. So we wrote 11 citations for no insurance, which is quite a bit. Had 1 fleeing on foot. Individual ran from the cops and received a citation for fleeing. Right now, as of today, we've had 8 arrests during this time. And then our problem individual that we keep on having issues with, we're at 5 times we've arrested him in the last month and a half. So it's been an ongoing situation that we're trying to address. Hopefully it'll get resolved in the next couple of weeks. As far as domestics have been increasingly, as soon as it gets warm out, it seems that everybody that this happens to, domestics have been up, suspicious activities have been up. We had 18 calls of suspicious activity. Some of those are involving the problem individual that we have in town. Weapons calls, they've been up a little bit, better than years past. We've had a few knife-related incidences, a couple possible shots in town calls, but a lot of that constitutes out of the city limits and fireworks, and some people just randomly call when they think there's a gunshot. So a couple of those were unfounded. Disorderly conducts have been up. We've had 5 of those. Thefts, we've only had 1. We do a pretty good job at trying to keep people down from breaking into things and stealing stuff. So that's a pretty good number. Just 1 crash in town, so people have been driving relatively safe. Been having issues with graffiti in town. 10 businesses and places have been graffitied. We're working on catching the suspect. It stopped for about a week now. Been putting a lot of pressure on that, so hopefully it dissipates. I lost my full-time officer here on 6/8, so that'd have been last Wednesday. So she gave us about a year's service. I think her anniversary date was probably close to June or May, somewhere in there. So we got about a year out of her. I was hoping for 2. Still trying to do some recruiting. It's a tough market right now for law enforcement. So I'll do my best to try to find a new full-time officer. We're running part-timers right now. I hired a brand new part-timer also last week. He wasn't interested in a full-time position at this time. He works part-time for the county. So I've been training him in. Hopefully he'll be covering some of these vacant shifts that I have. So besides that, been working on some of the nuisance issues in town, some of the garbage when I get time. It's been really busy. So when we try to poke at a few of those as soon as I can, you can just pick a couple a week or, deal with certain matters. Besides that, I'd say our call volume has increased once summer has started. Once it got warm, it seemed to be really busy lately. Like even in the morning, I've been running all over the place because it's just been busy. So besides that, any questions for the police department?
I have one. I haven't seen it in a while, but there's somebody who drives down Munsterman and throws food out on the middle of the highway. And I really hope that you guys can catch this person.
Hopefully we do catch the watermelon bandit. Eventually he'll get caught.
They eat a lot of water.
I don't know why they do it, but
You swear if somebody that works like a deli to get that much watermelon, right?
Smell that, I'll smell.
yeah, or a grocery
Coming
store.
From the north and going, or the west and north and going east.
We saw this last summer a little bit. We've done really good about maintenance at the brush site. If the police department could please continue to work with the public works to travel through there to make sure there's not illegal dumping happening at the brush site.
Yep.
So we'll do our part to clear out the whites that are there and stuff, but sometimes people just throw whatever they want. We don't want that.
Yep, we'll definitely monitor the flow inside the burning areas, or well, the brush site and everything there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of a busy month for us last month. We've had 8, 9 calls that we've responded to. We had smoke smell at the Appleton Care Center, storm watch. Same night we were on a semi rollover on County Road 9 north of 6. Natural gas leak that night, a couple propane leaks. We ended up going on a forcible entry for the ambulance. We had another storm watch night. And that one we ended up extricating a horse and dogs in a collapsed barn. Meetings and drills. We've been keeping the trucks cleaned up, running the small engines, making sure everything's good to go. CRP burns this year as weather did not want to cooperate. We've got a good portion of the main one we had to do this year. The rest of it we can finish burning off in the fall. So that money will still be coming back. We also have got 3 guys that are interested in joining now. So I know we had talked with them a little bit about applications and they got to be revised. So as soon as we get that, then we can get them to fill out their application next week. Next Monday night, I'm going to do their physical agility test, make sure that they get past that part of it. So that's all done and caught up. So then it's just the application process. That is all I've got.
I just have a question. That night that storm on that natural gas leak was at Minnesota Farms' old site there.
Yep.
I mean, is that a high pressure line or what? I mean,
Yes.
it looks so bad that Dominic can smell that shop a half a mile away.
That is a 4-inch main feeding that dryer system that's got 50 pounds of pressure. And
There's one that called it in and called me, I smelled it at the farm, he said, we don't have natural gas here, do we? And I told him it had to come from there.
yeah, and the local guy for Minnesota Energy, he's the only one that does not have a shut-off wrench to shut that off. So what I ended up doing was getting a hold of Ryan to get a gate belt wrench.
Okay.
And just as we got to the shop, the other guy from Camden showed up with the wrench to shut it off, so worked out okay, but at least now we know that.
Well, that was a scary deal, that much gas and a lot of Ben's going over and they get tore down there and there'd be sparks there too. It was-
Well, we were out on one other propane leak where an auger had tipped over, knocked the liquid valves off. But as the bin is laying on the ground, all the power was still on yet. So one spark and things are done. So
Just one, oh, you staff.
we're at 16 right now. I know we've got 2 that can retire anytime. One is currently on weight restriction because of some surgeries. And it sounds like he will be probably the rest of his life yet now. So it's.
What do you want to be, 5 or what do you know?
I think we can be up to 23 max. Is what I've always been told. I don't know where that number comes from. If we can be up to that 18 to 20, 22 would be perfect. We just can't find nobody to volunteer their time. I mean, the ones that we got now, they're plenty young and it's nice to see they've got the interest in it. So,
Are they all 180 hours in?
oh, it's- yeah, everybody is certified. And they've changed all that now too. Now they're adding on firefighter 2 and hazmat to the school. So, yes,
Such
everybody is.
commitment. No, I know when I was gonna take it later, you know, when my kids are in sports, it's quite a commitment to go to all those classes.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing I stressed to them. And like Monday night, I was talking to 2 young men, I told them, I said, your main concern is your schooling right now. I mean, that's the biggest thing, and get that done with, and then at least then after that, it's the easy part after that. So,
When I was on, we figured we had a full bore when we had 20.
Mr. Mayor, do I have permission to speak a little bit, something related, not directly on?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we can do as a city to help recruit is to make sure that when these gentlemen vest and they've committed, they have something to retire from. Right now, the Relief Association's retirement fund is around 241K. When one person retires, it could be a lump sum of about $26,000 or so. That is not enough money. I've sent you guys an analysis of this. While 2023's budget, I don't know if we can fit it in. I think we should entertain a contribution to assist the Relief Association to make sure that they are investing every year so that they can meet the tier retirement that's coming.
Well, that should come in your actuary report.
Yep.
So I know when I was on, Bob Thompson was the administrator. And at the time I was president of the Relief Association. And I told him at that time, I said, I didn't think that, you know, there was going to be enough money there because it could go, I don't know what the dollar amount is now per year.
I think we get 1,200 or it's 1,200 a year now, but that last time that was updated was probably been 10, 12 years.
Who decided that?
That was voted on by the city council. It was brought to the city council.
The fire department will bring it to, or the Relief Association will bring it to the council.
I brought it to the council because I was president of the Relief Association at that time. And I remember going there for $1,200 and it's maximum of 30 years. That's all you could draw.
That's all changed in the bylaws. It used to be that 30 years, and then when there was an update in on the bylaws, trying to remember how long ago that was, whoever typed it up, now there isn't, if you want to be on for 50 years, it keeps adding.
I think that was a state thing when I was Okay. Was the 30 years. You could put on 50 years on the fire department.
Yep.
You would only get paid
Credit for the 30.
credit for 30. You could stay on as long as you like. But at 30, that's what you had maxed out on your year. So probably would be something to check with the state too, to see if they had.
Well, I think it's something we need to do, like Willie said, to get that relief association up, because our volunteer firefighters, I mean, that's all they're gonna get out of it is basically your retirement. So I mean, you should make that at least, I mean, that's a reason to stay if you can give them, at least give them that when they're retired.
Are you still vesting at 50?
No.
Vesting at 10 now.
Yep.
But then they go by percentage, like if
Yeah,
you're there 10, but sooner than 11, percentage, and 11, it's broken down more now.
Percentage.
Percentage of what you would have made if you would have been in for 20.
Why don't you guys talk about that at your meetings? And I think you should check into that, Willie. I mean, that's one thing we could do on our side to help you recruit people too.
Because, yeah, I know, I think we can check with, what is it, Minnesota Volunteer Relief Association. We can check with them and see what.
Has the 501c3 status been reestablished?
Working on it. There's what.
If you need help with the IRS 1028 form, I'm right in there.
All right.
All right.
Any other
Thank you.
questions, sir?
Thank you, Justin.
Township fire contract proposal.
Motion to approve. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve the proposed township fire contract and to authorize that the office of the city administrator send the contract to townships.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Was there any discussion?
City attorney provided this template. What a lot of cities are doing that serve townships is that they are using a percentage of the particular township's total taxable property as established by their county assessors and dividing that by the total taxable property of all participating townships to give you a percentage of allocation. If we were to do that in this case, it would run the prices for the townships much higher than where we are at the per section cost. So that's why we left it at a per section cost versus the market valuation as described. The $3,000 is simply stated to contribute for the debt service of the equipment that's being replaced in the fire department. And it's limited to that $3,000. We also put an escalator in there that the per section cost goes up 2% every year of the contract, or whatever the COLA negotiated with bargaining units for the community are. Our COLAs historically have not been higher than 2.5%.
Yeah, motion's been made and seconded.
On the draft, I'd like to draft number 6.
You'd like to drop? Why?
Why? Well, it's an annual fee for service. The townships will contribute to annual equipment replacement cost amount not to exceed $3,000. The equipment belongs to the city.
Right.
Period. If we need to readjust things, I would rather readjust them in the cost per section so that it isn't a conflict with the township, whether they're have a liability with the equipment or anything else. Since it is ours.
Them paying for the equipment does not make it theirs. Because they're not paying for the equipment, they're paying for the debt service associated to the equipment. If we were to adjust the debt service and put it onto the per section cost, it would drive that per section cost up much higher than $160 per section,
How much?
closer to $300
Close to 300.
per section. I mean, if you want to do that, but I think that would be more jarring to a township than this. We can certainly drop number 6 and then adjust the per section cost, but the city of Appleton cannot be at a disadvantage moving forward.
I got some friends that are in the fire department over in Miami, and they wanted to add on to their fire hall, and I mean, they had their townships kicked in 25,000, 30,000 a township to help them with their building. I mean, all we're trying to do is, I mean, we've got equipment that they haven't replaced in, what has it been, 12, 15 years? I mean, that Justin told me in that meeting that the tanker was shot 12 years ago. Well, that should have been addressed 12 years ago. It shouldn't be something that we're fighting now for sure on money.
I mean, to be frank, he brought in pieces of the cleavage of the rust. So,
Well, I'll withdraw that.
Well, when we had the meetings with the first township, I mean, my concern is if each township, if they're gonna pay $3,000 toward our equipment and they don't want to do that, why as a city, why do we want to take all the legality and all the things that could go wrong for $3,000? I mean, out of all 7 townships, I think you told me we get $31,000. That really buys the equipment for one firefighter.
that's less than the debt service for 1 year.
You know, so it's tough for me. If you're gonna run the fire department in our city as a business, you're basically the citizens of Appleton are paying for our fire departments to give it to the townships. Because at $31,000 for all the townships, and I understand we lost one now, but if you got 6 townships and it's only gonna be $27,000, we have a lot of equipment, manpower, and we're fielding equipment for a lot of men.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm just saying that if you're gonna run it on the business aspect, I mean, the townships are getting a very good deal. I mean, we're supplying the insurance, the building, the fuel, supplying the equipment for all the men. We just bought, what were them breathing apparatuses, $250,000 or what was that?
It was when I started, it was 150.
150,000 for breathing apparatuses. Well, you know, I mean, that little bit they're paying, I mean, the citizens of Appleton are taking the blunt. And I just don't believe it's right.
I hope our townships can see some value in having good equipment to help serve them as well.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appleton Fire Relief Association app.
Motion to approve Appleton Fire Relief Association to host raffles on August 18, 19, 20, and 2022 pursuant to the Minnesota Gambling Control Board as prescribed by Minnesota Statute Section 349.166C.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appleton Chamber of Commerce.
Motion to approve Appleton Chamber of Commerce to host a raffle on September 17th, 2022 pursuant to the Minnesota Gambling Control Board as prescribed by Minnesota Statute Section 349.166C.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Temporary liquor license, Appleton Chamber of Commerce.
A motion to approve the Appleton Chamber of Commerce permit for a 3-day liquor license for September 16, 17, 18, 2022.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion?
Who's carrying the insurance?
Appleton Chamber of Commerce. When you say insurance or general liability?
We are still general liability, but we'll also have a liquor app for Appleton.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to approve Casey's General Store off-sale liquor license for a period of 1 year commencing on July 1, 2022 and ending on June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion?
That's for 3-2 beer, right?
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Authorize city administrator and city attorney to begin updating city ordinances.
Motion to authorize the city administrator and the city attorney to begin updating the city code of ordinances.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion?
When you mean update, what do you mean by it? Give me a little more detail about what you and the attorneys plan to do.
So we plan to codify specific nuisance issues. We plan to update any organizational changes that have happened with different department heads, titles, things of that nature, and make sure that all the ordinances are in fact enforceable.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2022. Krebs assessment penalty ordinance violation.
Motion to adopt resolution 2022-28 assessing the Krebs family for an ordinance violation in the amount of $1,000.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Okay, first of all, we submitted a letter to you on March 7th, 2022, listing our objections and points why this attempted $1,000 action against us is legally and morally wrong. Do you have that March 7th letter? So what we're wondering is, seriously, do you want to punish us $1,000 for acting in an emergency? I'm living in a household right now where my husband hasn't walked for a year. It's been over a year. I have made 6 trips to Mayo when they could finally figure out what they could do. And that's to save his leg, which so far it's working. We have another one in 2 weeks. So I'm working around different things. And I guess in the long run, and another thing, before Priscilla died, that house, it's a cute little house. We had things, when you talk about the police were giving their report of what's going on in neighborhoods. We were eating dinner one night and the police came over to tase a guy twice before they could take him down. So we're sitting in our gazebo. Do we have to hide from the fire, from the shots? And that's 2 doors away from us. And we did not want that to happen to this house. That's why we bought it. We want somebody good to live there. So I feel we did the city of Appleton a favor by buying this property and making sure that if no one else lives in it, somebody really nice, my family can use it or whatever. We just don't want to have those bad people living in our neighborhood anymore. So if you go ahead with this wrongful attack against Dick and me, we are not going to just lay back for it, and we'll legally fight it, and you'll end up spending taxpayer money on the city attorney in Montevideo. So what, we're just wondering, don't you see how crazy this is? We just needed a permit. I could have come down a few hours later when the emergency was over. And they actually said that we did the city of Appleton favor because the water underneath there, who knows where it would have gone? Would there be a big sinkhole? We don't know. I mean, we did what we thought was right that day. I had to wait down here, which we did get our bill from Riley, so that's $1,500. And of that $1,500, I asked Kirk O'Reilly how much of that would have been, because I had to come down and sign the papers to be able to have them keep digging. We had to stop 3 of those guys and the plumber who was waiting to fix it. And we got done. The plumber can't fix it. It's broken from the stop out to the street. So that's why it has to be redone. we're doing our best to do what we can. I mean, $1,000 when we're sitting on that one for 1,500, plus another 300 for the plumbers, plus another 300 from that for them to hook up the temporary line. And like I said, I'm doing my best. Right now, my husband is the #1 priority, so the water line is not. So I'm hoping you'll just see that it's really not our fault what happened. It would have been someone else's if they bought the house along the way. But we are trying our best. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
The original fine, was that for the, that they didn't have a permit? Okay. To back up, it's a permit that no one on the city staff told the Krebs that they needed. And it's a permit also that the Krebs did later obtain. So
I'd like to just make a statement as being part of being in the construction business myself. I was out with the city crew that day. They had to dig at Zion Church. That's where the Krebs has found people that dug their water line. The city crew just came off of plowing snow for 16 or 18 hours. They had to go up, they dug that water line up and they broke it or fixed it. They couldn't find gravel to fill the hole back in. It's a Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Ryan calls me, I get the keys from somebody, I go down, I plow them into the gravel pit to try to get gravel to fill the hole that was already dug. So I get a call from the city office telling me the Krebs are digging another hole. And I said, for God's sakes, have them stop, because if we can't get gravel to fill this hole and we got a water main freezing, we're gonna have another problem. And furthermore, if you're digging on a Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the wintertime, what if they would have tore the water line off the main in the street? Then we'd had a leak that the city crew would have had to fix. They had to tear the street up. They had to work all weekend to shut that down. Everybody within 3 blocks of their home would have been out of water if we wouldn't have had the parts on it. So I mean, in my deal, at that situation, I'm the one that told them to quit digging because I was concerned if it got into a bad situation, you could have your whole crew working overtime all weekend and they're already tired from plowing. So I was the one that requested them stop digging. So that's my 2 cents on it. Everyone needs to think of someone besides themselves in some situations.
From the city's perspective, what I'm kind of afraid of is we have these rules in place. We have structures. This particular leak was identified to the family before. There was sufficient time to coordinate, to address the matter. For whatever reason, it wasn't coordinated and the matter was not addressed properly. More importantly, we have other members of the community who may be in a similar situation. And we run the risk of making our levers for controlling matters like this arbitrary. If these rules were in place recently or improperly formed, I would understand some of the argument, but these particular ordinances have been in place longer than I've been alive. So these are not things that the city is wielding without measure. In fact, before I send out the penalty notice, I consulted with the city attorney on more than one occasion prior to sending it. We are within our lawful right to execute this type of penalty. And moreover, the vitriol that was created for the city effecting its job was really uncalled for. And so it's not about punishing, whereas we're trying to just uphold the structure as it exists.
Any other discussion?
well, I would just add that I think Appleton's a friendly town. At least I hope it is. And I think the lack of a $5 permit does not equate to a $1,000 fine. And I just think I cannot support this resolution.
If we had a special meeting for this, or we didn't have a meeting previous, and we allowed them to have until the end of June. Was it the end of June to get this thing fixed, or was it the end of May?
Wait, we're somewhere else. Right now, we're just at the assessment of the fine. We're talking about the water line for the end of June. That's separate.
But when we had that meeting, we talked about this fine also.
Yes, we've talked about all of this, but what's on the agenda and being discussed right now, it's the assessment, not the extension of the water line between the properties.
Right, but I was thinking that I misunderstood, because I was thinking that the reason the fine wasn't established back then and it's placed upon the Krebs is because we gave them time to fix.
It was not assessed at that point because it was directed back to the city attorney to determine if the penalty was lawful. And their attorney was to communicate with our city attorney. City attorney has since communicated with my office, spoken with the mayor that there is nothing wrong with us assessing this penalty.
But the bottom line is, we didn't have a permit to do that day. It was a $5 permit that we were assessed $1,000 for.
Mr. Mayor, also a good section of that block was shut off for about 2 hours until the matter was resolved without providing any notice to any of the neighbors or any of the community. Okay.
You don't have to notice.
No comments,
please. Thank you.
No. Yeah. Excuse me. If you wanted to speak, you would sign up to speak. Did you sign up to speak?
Fine.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, are you going to move the motion or?
Yep. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Resolution 2022-29.
Motion to adopt resolution 2022-29, discussing the family for delinquent fire bills in the amount of $765.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2022-30, ordering repair and removal of hazardous buildings.
Motion to adopt resolution 2022-30, ordering that Mrs. Victoria Van abate hazardous conditions or remove a hazardous building.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion?
Has she contacted the city office?
No, she has not.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2022-31, ordering repair and removal of hazardous buildings.
Motion to adopt resolution 2022-31, ordering that Miss Leander Hernandez abate hazardous conditions or remove a hazardous building.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion?
Ms. Hernandez has communicated with the city and she has communicated with the building inspector, but that's all she's done. So until we see actionable steps, I'm asking city council to move forward with putting this order forward. If she resolves the matter before the 30-day notice is done, then there's no problem.
One of the concerns I have with this, I drove by this place and it's bad. If there was to be an issue where somebody was to get hurt because this north wall busted out and got hurt, do we know, does she have the proper liability in place? I realize it probably isn't our job to know or not, but do we have any idea if she does or doesn't? This wall is bad. Does she have the proper liability? Do you know if she does or doesn't? Okay. If that person were to get hurt, and this is, granted, I know it probably isn't the city, but is it just too bad that you were at the wrong place at the wrong time? Is it that kind of a serious deal?
Well, the owner of record, in this case, Miss Liliana Hernandez, would be liable,
Okay,
you know, so if they go to court and stuff, all her personal assets, all of those things come into question.
okay. Because it is that bad. I mean, that was my biggest concern. I mean, I realize we don't want a building to look like that, but if I don't want to get hurt with that, and it's bad.
Some of our residents, and I'm just gonna, my office is going to pivot with a lot of movement to address the hazardous conditions of the city of Appleton. There are many structures that will be getting notices from me. Some people may feel singled out. The reason that we move faster in some cases than others is because in some cases, the conditions are such that the building inspector can drive by or walk by and observe that there's a dangerous condition. In other cases, you ask to be invited in, they let you in and you make that determination. Sometimes you have to go to court rather, to get a warrant to enter. So there's different situations why you may deploy a warrant, or excuse me, a hazard notice before others, and it has to do with those logistics. I'm also in touch with Burlington Northern Railroad. They are going to be removing the crushed cylinder that's on its side in the next 2 weeks. My office will be meeting with them to put these structures on their demolition list and to encourage them to remove those as quickly as possible. So it's not just residents. I feel badly because our residents have gone through a lot in the last 10 years, economically speaking. But these properties have to come down. I have been responsible for demolishing 16 properties, blighted properties. We have a number of nuisances and hazards that need to be corrected so that everybody's at equal footing.
My question on that one with that north wall is that a possibility? Should we block the sidewalk off so people don't walk there? Is that make a liability for us? That's my concern.
The responsibility rests with the owner of the property.
Even put so if she wanted to, she could put a barricade up like under where her door is at and then where that alleyway or whatever it is, so that people don't walk on that sidewalk. She could do that.
She could make that request.
Okay.
She could make that request. Again, she is meeting with Mr. Jacobson, the building inspector, and they are on a plan to address it. But the difference between having a plan and executing one, very big difference. And so I'm moving forward here, asking for you to move forward, just in case their side falls through, we move forward.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Krebs Water Run Action Extension.
Motion to approve an extension on the relief from city ordinance 52.32 to the Krebs family for a period not to exceed 30 days, June 31st, 2022.
Awesome.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion?
I'd like to see that go from 30 days to 45 because of the amount of construction that's going on and hard to get hold of people. I feel like giving them an extra, that makes it more office.
I know things are very difficult and tight out there right now, and it could be hard to secure somebody within 30 days, and I could agree to the 45 days.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, there's the,
Yep.
there's a, oh, sorry. There's a typo. It's June 31st, and of course there is no June 31st.
The reading is for a period not to exceed now 45 days as of June 31st, 2022. Excuse, June 30th, that should be.
I'll do the motion. The motion to approve an extension to relief from City Ordinance 52.32 to the Krebs family for a period not to exceed 45 days from June 30th, 2022.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Will there be any other discussion?
Now that's at 45 days. Okay.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Organizational chart.
Motion to approve establishing the city of Appleton organizational chart as presented by city staff.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. There'll be any discussion. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, excuse me, I was just wondering what the change, if any, was.
There is no change. It's a physical representation of the ordinances as they are for the structure of the city of Appleton. It's just to provide a visual representation of the chain of command.
Any other discussion?
From an HR perspective, we have a lot of roles that work together, but because they work together doesn't mean they're exactly the same. So in particular, in the Department of Public Works Department, you'll have a frontline man working with a supervisor. Supervisor may perform some conceptual work that requires other activity. We want to make sure the line of authority is not interrupted in that particular department.
Hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Separating contract amendment.
Motion to approve amending the contract that is in place with Federated Telecommunications by adjusting households served thresholds from 625 households to 550 households.
I second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
So when we contracted with the state and then with the internet service provider, ISP, the state used a census for population that was not accurate. They have since changed it on their end, and now it's our turn to amend it to 550 households.
Hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Continue with TAP law for representation for all matters regarding ISP.
Motion to approve that TAF law continue to represent the city of Appleton in all matters relating to ISPs.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Any discussion?
They've been representing us really well with all internet service providers. So if anything should arise, the city attorney believes that there are specialty areas where we should rely on for telecommunications.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Termination of surplus materials for auction, 52 wing.
Motion to establish that the materials listed at the 52 wing site where the new library is to be erected are considered surplus materials available for disposal, and that the city staff is to hold a reverse auction as a manner for disposing materials. Any material not sold during the reverse auction is to be disposed of in any lawful manner convenient for city staff.
I second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any other discussion?
So at 52 wing, we have a lot of lockers and desks and wood, and I'd like to have a reverse auction to get rid of some stuff. We also have some organizations in town that want to make use of some of this. So we'll do a reverse auction. Whatever doesn't get sold, I'd like to give to these organizations and get rid of the rest.
Did you say like the dance or the
Yep.
art center, dancers?
And the library staff itself, they want to hold on to a couple of those lockers. I don't recall. What do you mean?
As for removing things out of
Uh-huh.
you said there were some things in here that we can use when we move it into a new location.
Oh, if there's anything that is there, we'll give it to you.
Take whatever you want.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Close to public financial platform migration, June 21st, 2nd, and 29th.
Motion to allow the city office to be closed to public on June 21st, 22nd, 29th to provide the migration of the city financial platform.
You want to fill them in on that, Willie?
So we are now moving from a program that was very outdated, Assist, to Banyan financial platform. It requires us to migrate all of our financial data so that we can process all of our HR, all of our bills, everything we do. So it requires us to shut down so we can do that efficiently.
But isn't the reason too, then your water billing and everything will be a lot more streamlined and less cumbersome or not?
The new system? Yeah, we actually are going to be able to offer email bills, so people could opt into getting an email bill rather than a paper bill, and postcards are going away. It's gonna go on a regular 8x11 paper in an envelope, so hopefully less chance of it getting lost or torn or everything. And it's actually gonna save our accounting officer and our office probably at least a day, because we are gonna be sending those files out and having them mailed to a third party. We don't just sit and tear all the postcards that we have, or we print them and put them in envelopes. We have to print them, fold them, stuff them, address them, kind of thing. So it's gonna save time for our staff. But the big thing with the closing is our fund accounting. We have to input all of the checks that have been written this year up to this point. So, because unfortunately, they can take our current accounts over, but they can't take all the data, because once we put it in our system now, we can't transfer it over. So we have to input it.
Okay.
I'm assuming that we're going to let the public know on our website and.
Yep, we're gonna do announcements. I actually have them ready to get up on Facebook. We're gonna do the radio. We will put it on our website.
We should put this in the paper.
Yeah, I was gonna say the paper. I was gonna send it over, but I wasn't gonna do any announcements until.
So where do you put that, as a one ad or ad in the back, or do you, I mean, how do you?
I'll work with April on it.
No notices.
Yep, I'll work with April, so then it is noticeable.
I had a second on that, correct?
Yeah.
Nope.
I did not hear a second.
Yeah. That's
Oh.
what I think I had a second.
Oh,
Second. Okay, now we have a second. I'm sorry about that.
yeah.
I didn't think I heard a second. So all right, we got a motion in a second. Any other discussion?
Slightly related, not directly related. We hired a new staff person to replace a staff member that left on family medical leave and unfortunately has since left the city. It took 2 rounds, 24 applications, 3 months to find one of the most talented employees we've ever had interview for us. So we're very fortunate. We keep hearing over and over and over the need for childcare. It's actually impacting how we can recruit people now. So just be aware of that.
All right, we have any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Purchase beyond city purchase policy.
Motion to approve purchases of goods and services beyond the city purchase policy limits in the amount of $73,848.95.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion?
The costs for Apex, of course, are reimbursed by the PFA. I just want to take you guys to that document real quick. I know that there are some questions because the project, the water treatment plant, seems to be going longer, but you'll see that we still have about $1 million left. So that project is not over budget. That project is right on budget. So if you go, it's a yellow looking paper. The draft amount is $25,169.95. Okay, when you draft that amount, the total cost to date is $5,427,712.62. The entire project has a value of loan value of $6.1 million. So we are on task. We're not over budget. It's very important that the community knows that. Okay. With regard to electric pump, we had an emergency procurement, which my office authorized for this particular situation. Without the component equipment at the wastewater plant, it would have been offline. There's only one manufacturer for these types of pumps. Other pumps could be fitted, but the wastewater plant would need to have been down for a number of days, which is just not feasible for our community. So that's why I approved it in an emergency situation.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Shooters Catering and Serving Wine every Tuesday during summer concert series.
Motion to allow Shooters Bar and Grill to sell wine and beer at all summer concert series at the City of Appleton Riverview Park pursuant to Minnesota Statute 340A.404, and for Shooters Bar and Grill to sell food items pursuant to County Health Board standards.
I second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Transaction summary.
Motion to approve the City of Appleton transaction summary for the month of May 2022.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
You'll see, and this is important, the city council reviews monthly, sometimes twice a month, a check run. That is what's going out. This is everything what's going in and out. It's important to note that as of 2019, the operational budget for the city of Appleton was closer to $2 million, where we have been easily above that since 2021. So the operations of the city have essentially increased by nearly $1 million. I just point that out because I don't know if residents at home are following these documents, but it's important that you look at them. If you have any questions, please communicate them to my office. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to go into closed session to discuss labor negotiations.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. There be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, I make a motion to close the closed session and move into open session.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.